From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report in Special English. European Union countries have struggled to find common ground as they tried to work out a budget agreement in Belgium. But this month, they agreed on the European Union's Multi-Annual Financial Framework, or MMF, for the period from 2014 to 2020. The MMF sets the EU's yearly spending at about $1.3 trillion. That is 1% of the income of the EU. Members agreed to reduce total spending by more than 3% for the period. This is the first time that members have accepted cutting costs. European Council President Herman van Rompuy spoke after the agreement was announced. He said the compromise budget might not be perfect, but he said it should help all EU members. German Chancellor Angela Merkel praised the long-term spending plan. She said the agreement makes policy more predictable and enables members to act in Europe's interest. Some EU leaders have been calling for greater spending controls in their home countries. They wanted the EU to show that it too is willing to cut costs. British Prime Minister David Cameron welcomed the agreement. Before the two-day meeting in Brussels, he had threatened to veto the budget if there were no steps toward reducing spending. But the agreement still might not succeed. The European Parliament must approve the measure. And some members of the Parliament say it fails to deal with many problems, like the sharp differences in wealth between rich and poor people. If the measure is approved, it will affect 28 European Union countries. The EU says Croatia is expected to join the group in July. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. On November 30th, the European Central Bank took action to support the worldwide financial system. Central banks in Britain, Canada, Japan, Switzerland, and the United States also acted. The banks made it less costly for other countries to borrow American dollars. The United States Federal Reserve said the joint effort was meant to help central banks in Europe provide financial support to nations that need it. The action sent American stock prices up more than 3%. On December 1st, European Central Bank President Mario Draghi suggested that the ECB may provide new financial support for European countries struggling with debt. But first, he said, Euro area countries must establish trust by enacting big financial reforms. He said, a credible signal is needed to give ultimate assurance over the short term. What I believe our economic and monetary union needs is a new fiscal compact, a fundamental restatement of the fiscal rules, together with the mutual fiscal commitments that Euro area governments have made. 17 members of the European Union share the euro currency. Concern over its future has been building in recent years. The Greek debt crisis, rescue loans for Ireland and Portugal, and worries over Italy's debt have all increased fears that Europe may have to abandon the euro. The euro is the world's second most traded and second most used reserve currency after the dollar. European finance ministers failed to agree in November on a plan to provide economic support for debt-troubled countries. Financial officials say a lack of economic and financial cooperation is at the heart of the two-year-old debt crisis. Dutch Finance Minister Jan Kees de Jager said there is a strong need for tougher rules. Lack of economic reforms and lack of fiscal discipline has brought us into this crisis. So you also have to address these fundamental issues. That means Euro nations may have to surrender some power over their budgets to the European Union. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Persutti. We have more programs at voaspecialenglish.com, where people can read, listen, and learn English with texts, MP3s, and activities. We also offer English lessons at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook.